In the first lesson, we learned the names for all the white keys. So now let's learn what the black keys are called. Each black key actually has two names, each name having to do with the white note it sits next to. So here's G, right? If I move up one note to the black key right above G, that's called G sharp. Now let's start on A and move up to the nearest black key. That note is A sharp. Here's D. Where do you think D sharp is? Exactly. Here's C. C sharp. But let's say you approach a black key from the right. If we start on G and we go down to the nearest black key, that note is G flat. But if we start on F and we move up to the same note, it's called F sharp. So this note is both F sharp and G flat. Okay, well how about this note? So if we start on G and we go up, that note is G sharp. But if we start on A and we go down, that note is A flat. The name you use depends on the context, but for now it doesn't matter, you can use either name. But in terms of pitch, this note, G flat and F sharp, it's the same pitch, right? Because it's the same note. In the first lesson we talked about the octave, which is one cycle that repeats. Every octave, the frequency of the pitch is doubled, and that's what gives it that cyclical sound, like this. The octave is split up evenly into 12 pitches, like this. So I'm going to play now from C to C, all the 12 pitches. Those are all the 12 pitches within one octave. The smallest musical interval is this. C to C sharp. All I'm doing is I'm playing two notes that are right next to each other, and that's called a half step. Let's do another one. Here's A sharp. Here's D, D sharp. That's a half step. Let's do flats now. So here's G, G flat, moving down, right? That's a half step. What's a half step above E? It's kind of a trick question, right? Because there's no black key in between E and F. Well, that just means that F is a half step above E, because it's the note closest to E. And how about a half step below C? Same thing, it's B, because there's no black note in between. It doesn't matter what note I start on or which direction I move. It's the relationship between the two pitches that create the interval. Now the other type of step is a whole step. So what do you think that is? If C to C sharp is a half step, then C to what note above is a whole step? C to D, right? A whole step is simply two half steps. D to what note above is a whole step? E, right? A to what note below is a whole step? G, exactly. How about, what's a whole step above C sharp? Here's C, right? C sharp. What's a whole step above C sharp? D sharp. Here's D, D sharp. How about, so here's B. I'm going to move down to B flat. What's a whole step below B flat? Here's A flat. How about a whole step above B flat? Well, it's C, because a half step above B flat is B, right? And then a whole step above B flat is C. Being able to hear the difference between a half step and a whole step is very useful because everything in Western music is based on combinations of half steps and whole steps. So when this lesson is over, practice singing half steps and whole steps. So first find C, and you know what, actually start with a whole step, don't start with the half step. So play and then sing C, D, and then do the half step. C, C sharp, then pick another note and do the same thing. Now that you understand half steps and whole steps, you're ready to construct a scale. A scale is a series of notes arranged in ascending and descending order. And the building blocks for scales are half steps and whole steps. The most fundamental scale in Western music is the major scale. In fact, the major scale is the foundation for most other scales in Western music. So here's the formula for a major scale. You can use this formula starting on any note, but we're going to start on C, as usual. So that would make this major scale a C major scale. First you play your starting note, which is also called the root of the scale. Then you move up a whole step, another whole step, then a half step, whole step, another whole step, another whole step, and finally a half step. So the formula for a major scale is you have your starting note or your root, then you go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and finally half step. Or you could just say whole, half, whole, half. And remember that your starting note is not a step, right? Because a step occurs when you move from one note to the next. So you wouldn't say whole step when you start on C, you would say whole step when you go to D. Now hopefully this scale sounds familiar from lesson 1. See, I told you there was a reason we were starting and ending on C, but you didn't believe me. Just kidding. Okay, so the reason we're starting with a C major scale is because it's the simplest. It's the only major scale with all white keys. It has no sharps or flats, meaning black keys. Practice the C major scale if you have a keyboard at home. But instead of saying the names of the notes like we did last lesson, say the name of each step. So you start on C, and beginning with the first move, you say whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. And then you can do it again and use shorthand. Say whole, half, whole, half. Do this several times and then try the other exercise where you pick a random note and test yourself. See if you can sing first a whole step above that note and then a half step. So let me try it. A, B, woohoo! And now try the half step. A sharp, or A, B flat, right? So this note is A sharp because sharp goes up or to the right, and it's also B flat because the flat, so B, the flat would go down or to the left of that note. So it's the same note. Don't worry if you can't sing half steps and whole steps, or if it takes a while to be able to do it. The main thing is to understand the concept of a half step and a whole step on the keyboard, and to practice playing the C major scale with that in mind. If you have a keyboard, this is the end of the lesson for you. But if you don't have a keyboard, stay tuned and I'm going to help you practice singing whole steps and half steps. So I'm going to give you a starting pitch, starting note, G. Now sing a whole step above this note. Okay, now let's see if you got it. Don't worry if you didn't get it. Now try singing a half step above G. Let's see if you got it. Okay, how about we'll start with D. Now sing a whole step above D. Let's see if you got it. Now sing a half step above D. And now let's go the other way. We'll start with C. Now sing a whole step below C. This might be hard. That's a whole step. Now try singing a half step below C. Here's F. Let's do F sharp. Sing a whole step above F sharp. So here's F sharp. Now sing a whole step. And now a half step. Alright, I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks so much for watching. Of course, these videos are free, but I always appreciate donations if you value the content and if you feel so inclined. So you can send me a PayPal donation to hannahhoffman.net@gmail.com.